I believe the president was aware of an effort to cover up the Watergate.
When Richard Nixon made his farewell address on August 8, 1974, television was there, delivering this unprecedented event to an astonished nation.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow. Vice President Ford will be sworn in as president at that hour in this office.
We have absolutely no precedent, of course, for what has occurred tonight. Never before has this happened in our history.
So the public said, well, what is going on in other institutions that we don't know about?
Watergate radicalized the American people. Suddenly they began to say, hey, we've been fed a lot of lies by our government, by some of our political leaders. Let's begin to hear the way it really happened.
I'm Mike Wallace.
I'm Morley Safer. I'm Dan Rather. Those stories and more tonight on 60 Minutes.
In the wake of Watergate, 60 Minutes found a growing audience anxious to discover the truth behind the stories that affected their everyday lives.
Back in those early 70 days, there was no Nightline. There were no television news magazines, except us. We started in '68. And little by little, we were trying to find our way. This was a brand new kind of television journalism. And suddenly, it was as though we had found the key to people's curiosity.
Just how safe is a nuclear power plant? With more and more plants being built, the question is, are we moving too fast without proper safeguards when a single nuclear power plant accident could trigger catastrophe?
Okay, what we see is an accident. The first indication is low pressurizer pressure.
60 Minutes brought a mass audience, and they would stick their flashlights into the dark corners that no one normally would go to.
Get the hell out of here.
People didn't know who we were to begin with. So we would walk into places of ill repute with our cameras rolling and catch them in the act.
I wonder if I could talk to you just for a moment, sir. Whatever happened to Wild Bill's, Mr.
Not gonna talk?
Well, then can we talk in private?
Nope.
Be careful, because I'm gonna call my lawyer right now.
Wouldn't you want to talk to me?
The more that we did that kind of thing, you began to see the ratings for 60 Minutes rise during the 70s until a broadcast that had been 85th or 90th or 100 became #1 in America.
In 1978, the news magazine 2020 premiered, proving that America's taste for reality was here to stay.
Skylab is going to fall. It'll come back to Earth within the next few weeks, and no one knows where.
As primetime was being transformed, an energetic talk show host from Chicago was transforming daytime TV.
From Chicago, you're now in touch with Donahue.
Talk radio was the first angry voice on broadcasting. So when the opportunity to put this kind of format on television came, I was lucky enough to be asked to do it.
Long before Oprah or Jenny Jones, Phil Donahue burst onto the screen armed with nothing but a microphone and an eagerness to get down to straight talk. By the mid-70s, the Phil Donahue Show had become a daytime sensation.
We're talking about male menopause. What do you think? No problem with your family.
I think it exists.
You do, huh?
Yes.
Women were talking about very serious issues, health issues, marriage issues, children, among themselves, and nobody was offering them this kind of serious material during the daytime.
Now my children are grown and all in school, and I'm interested in getting a job. Well, I fill out an application form, and there's not much to put down on that form.
Phil wanted to have a serious show, and he really discovered that women in the daytime are smart. I mean, nobody else had really thought so.
It's important to realize that the Donahue Show grew up with the women's movement.
Is the caller there?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
My husband just finished, hopefully finished, going through the midlife crisis after having an affair for 3 years.
He did, huh?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I'd like to know, how do we treat this? Do we just pat you men on the head and say, you poor darlings?
Why don't we say this what it is? This is selfish, infidelity, which is not sensitive to the family needs, and there are women out there who are doing everything, including baking cookies for him, and he's still running around, and that really angers a lot of them.
He ended up having what was the closest television equivalent to a consciousness-raising group.
I've got a break. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. We'll be back in just a moment.
The first three words in the Constitution say, "We the people."
In 1979, television went a step further by turning its cameras on the whims and foibles of real people, a form of reality programming America found quite entertaining.
So welcome to Real People.
It was a celebration of life. It was a celebration of America, and real people celebrated the eccentric. And the rest of society was hiding the eccentric.
How did you two get together, Pearl?
Accidents.
Well, you brought me up here. You wanted to show me this place.
I needed a cook,
And
a
I said,
companion.
I'm gonna move up. Can the other man tell you about what?
Hey, great Eleanor.
I think Pearl wants to say something, Glenn.
Millions of tons of it left over.
This is ABC's Wide World of Sport.
Reality shows were changing the face of television. And in the 70s, what many today consider the ultimate in reality TV, live sports, hit its stride.
Fisk at the plate. The ball soaring.
The technology of sports television changed. At the beginning of the decade, people were probably impressed simply to see a replay.
As you look at it again, the Reds went on to win that World Series in the 7th and final game. Stay inside, stay inside.
By the 70s, it wasn't just enough to cover the action, but in most cases, you wanted to provide some sort of information beyond the field to provide a storyline that engaged the interest not just of the rabid fan, but of the casual fan.
Here's a depressed Joe Namath. In 3, 2, 1. Take.
In September 1970, Monday Night Football made its primetime debut. In its first season, nearly 1/3 of all viewers tuned in. The sports explosion had begun.
It was an experiment on Monday night, but all of a sudden professional football by itself became something that people wanted to see.
It's an amazing event and sight. It makes rock concerts look like tea parties.
Matthews out of the end zone. Uh-oh. Look out. Ira Matthews. Turn out the light. Deep in his end zone. Ira Matthews. It looked to be 103 yards.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had a football game.
I can't believe it.
Oh, what action-packed drama here tonight.
I didn't know you cared.
They had these rather interesting commentators who became almost as interesting as the game itself very often. Howard Cosell, of course, being the numero uno.
Hello, everyone. I'm Howard Cosell.
He was completely unlike anyone else, for better or for worse. At his best, though, he combined a keen intelligence, an awareness of social issues, a sense of journalism that was all but completely missing in broadcast sports in those days. Perhaps he was at his very best in his coverage of Muhammad Ali.
Regardless of any opinions of Muhammad Ali on other matters, this man has to be accorded the status of a physical phenomenon. Oh, good combination by Ali.
Cosell championed Ali and gave him a forum. It was both significant because Ali had important things to say, and it was also immensely entertaining.
Thank you very much, champ. Thank you for being with us. We enjoyed it as always. And that, in effect, is our show today. Ali, still the heavyweight champion of the world. Knock it off.
Tragically, sports fell victim to political turmoil. The 1972 Summer Olympics in Munich, Germany.
There had been other occasions in the past when the Olympics and politics obviously collided, but it really came home resoundingly and tragically to most viewers in 1972.
And then it all happened on the morning of September 5th. It was Building 31. Inside, 2 dead Israelis, 9 more hostages, and as we were later to learn, 8 Arab guerrillas.
No one knew what the outcome would be, so people were on pins and needles.
Where he yearns for the moment that his friends and